The Secrets of Middle-earth is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit GiveStarQuest.com.
You're listening to The Secrets of Middle-earth, where we discuss the hidden themes and deeper layers found in the works of J.R.R. Tolkien, whether in his writings or in any of the media derived from them. And I think today's probably going to be the most derived we've ever been on this podcast.
Rings of power. I mean,
I don't know. But anyway, I'm Jeff Haecker, and joining me today are Patrick Mason. Hey, Pat.
Howdy, Jeff.
And Rob Leonardi. Hey, Rob.
Well met.
Well met. All right. So as we hinted, today we are discussing the third and final film in the Hobbit trilogy, The Battle of Five Armies. But before we get there, we did have some news we wanted to share that our former panelist and author, Caitlin Fascista, is publishing a new book, Into the Heart of Middle-earth, which will be available for your reading pleasure on February 20th. And you can find more info at teawithtolkien.com or at your favorite online retailer. She is also doing a launch party on the 20th, and you can find the details at her website, which is, again, teawithtolkien.com. All right, so our summary for this movie is Smaug attacks Lake Town and burns it, one might say desolates it, but Bard is able to use a forged arrow to take him down. The survivors, including Kili, Fili, and Tauriel, make their way to the ruins of Dale and seek assistance from the dwarves, but Thorin refuses and orders the mountain sealed. Action Elrond, Galadriel, and Saruman go to Dol Guldur to save Gandalf. They fight Nazgul, and Galadriel banishes Sauron east. Azog sends his son to gather their army and march on Erebor. Thranduil brings his army to Erebor to parley with the dwarves, but Thorin refuses to return the gems he seeks. Gandalf arrives and counsels Bard and Thranduil, but Thranduil refuses to listen to the threat of the orc army. Bilbo sneaks the Arkenstone out and gives it to Bard and Thranduil as a bargaining chip. They approach the mountain and but Thorin refuses their attempts to negotiate, as Thorin's cousin CGI Dane Ironfoot arrives with his army. A battle between elves and dwarves begins, but the arrival of wereworms, for some reason, and orcs convinces them to join forces. Bard calls the people of Lake Town to fall back to Dale, which is besieged by catapult-wielding trolls who break the walls down to allow orcs in. Thorin watches the battle unfold but refuses to leave the mountain as the greed from the dragon takes hold. Or I guess greed of dwarves takes hold. Dwalin reminds Thorin of who he is, and he overcomes his greed. He calls his company to follow him out one last time. He charges out, and the dwarves rally behind their king, and the men and women of Lake Town also rally in Dale. Thorin, Fili, and Kili hunt down and fight Azog and Bolg. Bolg and his army arrive from Gundabad with Legolas and Tauriel, who went to find them, on their heels. And Kili, Fili, and Thorin are killed in the fight with the two orcs. Bilbo reconciles with Thorin as he dies, and Tauriel mourns her lost love Kili.
Cha-ching!
Ching-ching. Thranduil tells Legolas of a ranger named Strider and that he should seek him and learn his true name. Dane becomes king of Erebor, and Bilbo departs from the company. Gandalf journeys with him back home, warning him of the dangers of using a magic ring, but Bilbo claims he lost it. Bilbo arrives at Bag End in the middle of an auction of his property and happily settles into his home. His adventure over. All right, so a lot of summary, a lot of stuff going on, but all right, I'm going to start with you, Rob, because I think I know where Pat's cautious optimism is, but what are your impressions of this movie, Rob?
Dead. No, sorry. We got a battle scene. It was sort of CGI'd, and it was sort of good. Mixed bag. I mean, it was a decent movie for what it was. There was a lot of parts that obviously, you have the love triangle that needed to bring to fulfillment. You have Azog that needed to bring to fulfillment. And It did it. There's other parts that I can understand why they added to the movie to flesh out, how did Philly and Killy and Thorin die, and like actually show that. But there's a lot of other parts that they just didn't need to add. And it was really cool seeing the transformation of Beor mid-air and take out things. And so like there was some really cool stuff, and someone was like, why are you doing this? So it's a 3 out of 5. I don't know.
All right, Pat, let's have it.
Yeah. It's okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. Much more positive than I thought.
Yeah. Well,
if someone's forcing you to say that, let us
know. Blink twice. It's very mixed bag, right? There are parts of it which are absolutely great, just gems. On pretty much all the stuff with Thorin.
I mean, there was actual gems.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much.
Pun intended. Okay.
Yeah. Everything with Thorin was done really well. The dragon sickness, the gold, the gold sickness, the stuff with the Arkenstone. I thought all of that was done very well. The bard stuff was actually mostly pretty good. Really. Outside of the fighting, things went pretty well in this movie. But all of the battle stuff was just so over the top ridiculous that it made it dumb.
Hilarious. Oh,
right. Right. Yeah. And so you could sit there and make fun of it. Right. And just like with the last film, with those parts of the film that were ridiculous. If you sit there and riff it, make fun of it, it can be fun. But I think you lose fundamentally, kind of what the battle represents within the Legendarium, which is the real final last alliance, between men and elves and dwarves, where they really get to fight on the same front against the forces of darkness. Because after this point, you have the individual races will battle, against orcs or Sauron's forces or whatever, but it's not, there's no combining of forces or anything. So it loses a lot of that, feel to it because of how over the top ridiculous it is. And there's a lot of like just messing fundamentally with the lore in the Legendarium. Well, yeah, but it's like they're like, okay, we're gonna watch the barrel scene, and then we're gonna come up with a way to top that. Like, he's gonna run on falling rocks. That physical work. I can explain to you why. But when you step on a falling rock, you just fall with the rock. You can't up from it because it's not pushing down on anything underneath it. But okay. Magic elves,
Elvish parkour.
Yeah.
It's because he's light-footed.
Yeah.
Right. And then the 9 being in Dol Guldur instead of being, back home in Mordor, getting the place prepped for Sauron, and Sauron being all about Angmar, and which is not in the right place, and Gundabad being it just, yeah, there was far too much just fiddling needlessly with the Legendarium and the lore, and so it really just drowns out most of the good of this movie, and it's sort of it becomes this sort of Michael Bay-esque summer popcorn movie, and it's not supposed to be that.
Yeah. I mean, we've been joking about this for a long time, and we've been, this is our the third movie we've reviewed, or the third Hobbit movie, so. Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise that I think I pretty much agree that everything, like the Thorin stuff, was great, and I actually really like what they did with that. And even in the Bilbo stuff was great, like the relationships between not the romantic relationships, but the the friendships between the dwarves and Bilbo and the, you know, the relation, like the antagonism between all the other races, I thought was done pretty good, pretty well. And like I think the Lake Town scene was pretty good. I mean, it looked better than the Battle of the Five Armies, I would say.
Yeah.
It's still, I kind of made fun of it last time, but they like the last, and I kind of see why they put it here, because they wanted another action set piece. But like the Smaug stuff, I feel like should have been, it's the first like 10 minutes of the movie and Smaug is dead. And then we shift over to the battle, you know, setting up the Battle of the Five Armies and all that. So it kind of was just
even before the title, right? All the Smaug stuff happens before the Battle of Five Armies title.
And again, it just feels like they were trying to pad out stuff to make, you know, more money with a third movie that they didn't need to make. They could have made probably two pretty good movies, like make it 3.5 hours, and you could tell everything you want to tell. And if you cut out some, and I know we've talked about, like, I think it's called the Acorn cut or other cuts of these movies that fans have made where you cut out that stuff. But yeah, just the battle itself, it's just a CGI fest. And I mean, and again, I'm not opposed to CGI, but you have to like, again, the battles in the Lord of the Rings stand out and still look really good because CGI is used, but they also did a lot practically, and they use miniatures or, you know, real people. Whereas, like, why was Dane CGI? That was just like, right. I think it's probably because they wanted, I forget the actor offhand, but they wanted that actor, but maybe he was too old looking and they didn't want to invest the money. So they just CGI'd him, and it's the uncanny valley. It just looks weird. It's Billy something, if I'm not mistaken, but anyway, but yeah, I mean, overall, it's
Billy Connolly.
Yeah. So overall, I mean, the good parts of the movie are good, and I like it for those parts, but yeah, a lot of the action stuff is just nonsense. Put it, for lack of a better word, it's just nonsensical. But all right, well, I guess we can kind of start, and of course, all the parts with Dol Guldur, a lot of that was just like, it was cool seeing Elrond fight, but he's not supposed to fight there, I don't think, and not fight the ghosts that can, as soon as you stab them, they disappear and reappear and like, if they're ghosts, why are they dying? Anyway, I'm thinking, I'm thinking about it too hard and it's falling apart. So, I guess we can start in the Lake Town. And so what did y'all think of the Smaug and Lake Town scene and Bard, shooting the arrow? Because that was a departure from the books, but I think aside from kind of using his son as his bow, or as his aiming, I thought that scene was actually pretty good overall. Again, I think it probably should have been part of the last movie, but
I can see why it wasn't, because if you end a movie with like, it's the way that they did it is they left it on a cliffhanger, right?
Yeah.
And so like I mentioned in the last recording, my son was like, what? That's it? And like, that's how I felt when I first watched the movie. Like, it left you on the cliffhanger where you wanted to go see the next one to see what happens. And if they would have just had, the full desolation, it would have been like, sort of like Infinity War, where everyone just dies. And, okay, we're going to see the Avengers again because they have to make a comeback, but people don't get resurrected like that in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Well, and I think about that when you have trilogies that have cliffhanger endings on their second part, and then ones that have like endings that are real rough on the audience. And the two that stand out to me are Infinity War, right? That's pretty rough for the audience, where you realize, oh, Thanos was the protagonist of this movie. and then Empire Strikes Back, which is a pretty rough ending to that one too. And those are some of the best, portions of a series And so I'm not sold on it needing to have been a cliffhanger. I think you could have done 3 movies at 2 hours apiece and cut out all of the stuff.
Yeah.
And this could have been part of the last one.
Yeah.
That being said, I really enjoyed this scene. Like, I know it is a slight departure from the books, but it is not the grandiose, ridiculous departure that the rest of the movie is. It's close enough. Like, they get all the parts right. Like, Bard has the arrow, he takes down the dragon. Like, that's the main bit. And the dragon does a lot of damage to Lake Town. And all that, it looks really good. Like, there's maybe one scene in there where Smaug his CGI is a little bit off. But for the most part, it's in the dark, and that helps. And so it looks very good. I thought Tariel getting the kids out and the son getting involved, and then the little plot line with the master, get drowned in the lake. Those were all good little side plots happening in this, 10 to 15 minute intro that we get. So as far as the movies go, for a minute by minute piece, this was probably the best 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
We had no interruption with anything that was just utterly ridiculous.
Yeah. The one thing that we didn't mention last movie that they did mention last movie was that they said that Smaug was in cahoots with Sauron, and that's not a thing. And then when Smaug dies, then it's like, oh, everyone's going to want a piece of the mountain now. And that sort of like, okay, they had to bring in for a reason for the orcs to be there. But originally they didn't have the orcs chasing them for that reason. Originally, it was goblins, which I know Tolkien kind of mixes goblins and orcs as the same creature. But originally it was the goblins coming back because the orcs or the dwarves killed a goblin king and they wanted retribution.
Yeah.
And so again, they started with Azog and they had to bring him into fulfillment, but it was just like, now you're just playing with this lore a lot. And you had to somehow make Smaug in cahoots with Sauron. I just don't.
Well, I don't think it was that he was in cahoots. I think it was that they were worried that Sauron would sway Smaug to his side. And I thought that was something. I know it's not in the Hobbit book, but I thought it was referenced in Lord of the Rings or in the letters or some other place that Tolkien, that the reason Gandalf wanted to take care of Smaug is because he was worried Sauron would recruit Smaug and have, a dragon on his side. So I thought that was true too.
I remember. So in the extended edition of the second book, when it opens with Gandalf meeting Thorin in the Prancing Pony,
right?
And he mentioned something about that, but I thought it was the fact that Smaug was already on Sauron's side because of the fact that. Not because of the fact, but I thought he already mentioned that, which sort of makes sense because of the dragons and Morgoth and all that stuff. But
I don't remember from the movie, but I think that's why in the story Gandalf, he didn't want Smaug to go join Sauron, and it's Google's telling me it was in the Unfinished Tales.
It's in the Unfinished Tales, and it's just. Gandalf and Aragorn and some other folks talking after all of the events in the Lord of the Rings about how all of this got kicked off. And Gandalf says, there were these chance meetings, but I was hoping it was going to happen because I needed something to displace Smaug, or not Smaug. Because I worried about him if we were going to go to war with Sauron. And having him in the north, I had to clear that out.
Okay.
Yeah. But like we said, that scene kind of wraps up fairly quickly. And kind of and then it's the plot. There's various plot lines jumping back and forth, but I think we want to close out with the big battle, but we get we get Gandalf in Dol Guldur, and we have to get Action Elrond, Galadriel, and Saruman coming to save him. So, what did y'all think of this whole sequence?
It's just like I didn't have so much of a problem with Galadriel or with Elrond, but Saruman was just a little ridiculous. You have this like super old guy doing these karate moves, you know, dancing around basically with the staff, hitting these, you know, who are supposed to be the ring wraiths, and just none of this makes any sense, right? And that's my basic problem with it. Like, if you were to strip out the entire fight with the Nine and just have the confrontation be Galadriel and Saruman and Elrond and Sauron, and kind of, you know, maybe spread out the power a little bit from Galadriel to the three of them, that's all you need. Like, that would have been enough. But they felt like they needed to stick in this fight scene for
I mean, so the books of the Lord of the Rings themselves, you know, at the Council of Elrond, Gandalf talks about how the White Council drove out Sauron from Dol Guldur. So theoretically, how would they have done that, right? You leave that up to the imagination. You put it in a movie, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, it was so the thing I do like, not that I like this scene, but I like that we get an Action Elrond, because he is a renowned Elvish warrior, and we're getting to see some of that in Rings of Power now. But before that, like, we just kind of get and we saw, I guess, a tiny bit of it in the prologue of the movie, Lord of the Rings movies. But it would have been like that was all we got. So I do like that we get to see some of that here. Now, who he's fighting, maybe not so much. Like, if he was just like decapitating, you know, orcs and you know, stuff like that, that would have been great. And I guess they wanted to save that for Legolas later, but yeah, fighting the
75 decapitated orcs,
but fighting
2 minutes.
Yeah, but fighting the ghostly Nazgul here was just, yeah, like the whole fight scene was just, yeah, like you said, makes no sense. It's not based on anything.
Yeah, they're not there. They're in Mordor, making the place ready.
And they don't even look like they're wraiths, technically. I mean, they're wraiths because they're ghosts, but they're not like they're full wraith.
They're just, yeah, they're like spirits only. They're not, there's not any physical form left. And I mean, I guess if the wraiths are at this point are like, they're only held together by their cloaks, like, I guess they could be ghosts and attack if they wanted to, but
yeah.
But yeah,
don't make no sense.
But how does Sauron, or how does you know, how can they stab them?
Elf blades.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. Mithril. Magic mithril.
Magic mithril. Yeah.
From the lightning that hit the tree.
And all that said, it was really cool to watch. Right, visually, It was pretty spectacular to watch that happen. It just didn't make any sense, and
I did not like Galadriel's like power of whatever she did to drive them off. Like, that scene, I think, was way overdone, and like Pat said, they could have all of them shared some sort of power and done that together. I don't know, that just kind of threw me off. And I think that, especially with Gandalf, it almost was like having some sort of affection for her, like, my lady, come with me. It was just kind of was like, are you trying to start another love triangle here? We already have one of those, and we didn't need the first one.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's just more like, it's like Gimli's love for Galadriel. Yeah. Like, it's like that courtly type of love we were talking about. I don't think it's meant to be romantic.
Yeah. You know, I think what would have been better, I think, would have been to see Elrond, you know, sort of leading the charge into Dol Guldur, taking out a bunch of orcs, whatever servants of Sauron, and having the Maiar and the Noldor, take on Sauron and drive him out, in a spiritual battle, which is, it got relegated just to Galadriel. And one thing I did like about that scene was like how, shocked Elrond was at Galadriel kind of displaying her power. And it does point out the fact that Elrond is not, like, he is technically from the First Age, like at the very end, but he is not like full-blooded Noldor. He never went to Valinor. He's never seen the trees. He doesn't have that kind of, pedigree, I guess. And seeing what a real, like, Eldar who has bathed in the light of the trees can really put on the field. I think that was nice to see. But Saruman just standing there and doing kind of nothing, kind of holding his hand.
He was waving his hands around.
With his claw. And it was like, okay. And I felt like, okay, well, you're just trying to downplay Saruman. And at this point, he's not quite totally like off his rocker. He's still, he's still for the White Council. He's still for his mission, which is to drive Sauron off. So I don't. And yeah.
Well, and in Galadriel too, she name drops Morgoth, which I thought was interesting. And then, just jokingly, because of Rings of Power, I'm like, she's flashing back to her kind of almost love triangle with Halbrand there. And the other thing I noted is Gandalf lost his friendship staff from Rings of Power. So the staff he has it's no longer the staff of the friendship tree from the Rings of Power. So
yeah, now
but he gets Radagast, I guess.
Yeah, but it doesn't quite work well.
Now, why did Sauron know that Gandalf had an elven ring?
He shouldn't have.
Okay. Yeah.
Technically, per the Legendarium, he doesn't know. He doesn't even know what Galadriel does. But in Rings of Power, he does. But he's not.
Well, he doesn't know they have rings of. Well, no, I guess when
he doesn't know that she was given it. He just knows that their three was made, right?
No, he knows.
Okay.
Well, in Rings of Power, not in the books.
Yeah.
In the book,
right.
He doesn't know.
Yeah.
But he sees it when they fight.
Yes.
Because she keeps healing as he slashes her.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. Flames across the side.
The other note on Galadriel I had too was like, wear some shoes when you're walking in Dol Guldur. That place is nasty, and she's walking barefoot in this, like, probably one of the second nastiest places. Probably the only worst place would be Mordor, but that's probably cleaner than Dol Guldur. Or at least like the volcanic heat would probably kill a lot of the nasty stuff on the ground. But yeah, that place. It was kind of interesting seeing how it's kind of the same vibe that she had in Fellowship when she was like showing the vision of Frodo to what she would look like if she had the One Ring. And that's kind of the power that we see her display here. So I did think that was kind of interesting that they kind of made that connection. And like, this is what she, like, if she took the One Ring, like she could display this kind of power or more. So I did think that was kind of interesting. But yeah, she sends Halbrand packing and back to Mordor.
Well, he's nameless and he's faceless now, right? No more Halberd, no more Saranatar.
Yes, he only leaves with his eye.
Yeah. But yeah, so anything else on that scene before we kind of shift over to talking about?
I like how they had Radagast join.
Yes, I did like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because he gives Gandalf his staff, and Radagast helps get Gandalf out of there with his hairs. So, but all right, yeah. So I guess we can kind of shift over to talking about the big battle, or kind of the start of the big battle with yeah. I mean, so we get the setup first of Thorin looking for the, wanting the Arkenstone and starting to kind of think that somebody's plotting against him, which in a way Bilbo kind of is, because he takes the Arkenstone and hides it so that, because he sees what's happening to Thorin. And the people of Dale have kind of gathered in this, or the people of Lake Town have gathered in Dale, and we get, more comedy from Alfred kind of sucking up to Bard and calling him sire and all that. And of course we get the scene of Killy and Tauriel, having their little moment, but Legolas appears and kind of ruins it for them, I guess.
Wow, Legolas appears. Super effective. Yeah, I really the best part of those scenes is the Thorin portions, where the conversations Thorin has with Bilbo, we're talking about trust and the accusation about then he finds out he's actually just holding an acorn. That's a great scene. I love how Bilbo approaches the four dwarfs coming from Lake Town as they make their way into the Erebor, and he tells them, we got to get out of here. Like, this place is sick. There's a sickness on this place. And it kind of sets those four up as being the automatic foils against Thorin, because they're sort of prepped for it beforehand. Watching Thorin sort of descend into madness, and then finally the scene where he gives Frodo the mithril shirt and then pulls him aside and tells him, I can't trust everybody. There's Frodo, or not Frodo, Bilbo is just like, why can't we just pay, give them, what we need to give them? And he says the same exact thing that Smaug says.
There's a game afoot.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm not going to part with, any of this treasure, not a single coin. And when he says it, they sort of feed in Smaug.
Yeah.
And so to show you how he's sort of gone off the edge, and he's really,
that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that set up, again, that's the Thorin stuff, I think, as we said, I think is some of the best, stuff in the movie and the best characterization in the movie. So, the Lake Townians, or Dale, men of Dale now are kind of organized and are trying to, set things up for themselves, and they go, and then Thranduil shows up because he wants to get I forget if they gave it a name, but he wants to get those gems.
There was a name for him. I forgot because he pulled them up and said these are them, and then he threw them again.
Yeah. But yeah, Thranduil wants those gems and presumably more, wealth from the mountain, because he probably doesn't have much precious gold in his woodland fortress, but yeah, so the
gems of Lasgulin. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But then, so Thranduil and Bard and the men, I guess, does Bard go by himself first? I think he does. And
yes, Bard goes by himself
Thorin
first
turns
to
him
try
away.
to, yeah, because he doesn't want war. He doesn't want any of this. Because it was kind of funny with Proto-Grima being on watch for the night and letting in an entire elf army. And he's like, oh, you just let in an elf army. Okay. And he's like, I don't want war. And he goes, and I felt like that could have been so much better. Like, hey, guy, Thorin, I don't want war. These people are here to fight you. I'm not here to fight you. Let's spell it out.
Yeah.
You could have just done that.
Well, and it's also funny. It's also kind of funny too, because Bard is like, we need gold from the mountain, but you presumably want the gold to buy supplies and restock Dale, but where are you going to buy it from?
Right.
it would have made more sense if like when they get into the mountain, they find like, oh, here's this great stock of, you know, of supplies that have been, you know, kept safe for although they would have been
70-year-old hardtack.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. But you know what I mean? Like they they could have found like, grain, bags of grain.
Hey, that's what happened in the War of the Rohirrim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that part was just kind of silly. Like, you want the gold, but what are you going to use it for? Is kind of my thought. Like it would have made more sense if they were like, you know, we need supplies to make fires, we need cloth, we need to make clothes for us for winter, we need, you know, this or that. But Bard kind of just made it like, we want gold. And anyway,
yeah,
maybe I don't know if that was any kind of intentional thing of like, there's like potentially a little bit of like dragon gold madness on Bard now, but yeah, but Thranduil shows up and does have his own kind of madness of wanting those gems. So they team up and go try to negotiate again with Thorin.
This time they bring the army.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they do bring their army, but but Bilbo, as we said, he sneaks out the Arkenstone. Well, I guess they have that first negotiation of Thranduil and Bard and some of the elf army, and then they all go back to Dale. And then Bilbo sneaks out with the Arkenstone and gives it to Gandalf, or gives it to Thranduil to say, you know, please use this to try to bargain your way with Thorin and prevent war, because Bilbo has become friends with the dwarves. You know, and he's just he's had these little bit of action and fights and stuff, but he's still a hobbit at heart and wants to live in peace. So he's giving up that he's taking that as his share of the treasure of the quest.
Now, that scene actually got me a little upset, because, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe I was unjustly upset, but in the book, Bilbo was able to do that all by himself, and Gandalf didn't show up until Bilbo was heading back. Because Gandalf was kind of like in a hood, hiding amongst everyone.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think when he leaves the mountain and goes and smuggles the Arkenstone out, he does that piece of it all by himself. Gandalf isn't there to sort of vouch for him.
And just again, I just feel like they took away the wit of Bilbo again. And this time, not for like, it wasn't the slapstick wit. It was actually like he needed to have his wits about him to do this trade and to make sense of it. But
well, I think, it's still Bilbo's idea, though, right? Him leaving with the Arkenstone and bringing it to Dale and explaining to them. Now, in the books, I don't think the Elf King's there. I think it's just Bard.
No, I'm pretty sure the Elf King, like the elves were there too.
Okay. It's been a little while.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Maybe we need to just do the Hobbit book next soon.
Yeah. But either way, Bilbo affects this sort of, well, if you want what you really want, you've got to give us what you actually promised us. Which, at this point you have the division starting to form within the ranks of the dwarves, where you see Thorin go back on his word and the dwarves are all like, you're not you anymore. Right.
And I appreciate that. Like they clearly knew what Bilbo was up to and they let it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause was it Beaufort that was letting him, like, basically let him sneak out? And even if he didn't know he had
was like, I gotta wake up Bomber, and
it takes a while.
But even so,
goodbye, Bilbo.
he also was I forgot who it was, but gave him the advice of like, no, he doesn't need the Arkenstone. It would make his illness worse.
Was it Dwalin or Balin?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Okay, the older one.
One of them.
Balin's the older one.
Yeah, Balin.
Yes, him. Yes.
He tells
the one that's
like,
too old to fire arrows.
I'm too old for this stuff. Action line reference. So yeah, but it is him, because Bilbo goes to him and as an advice, he's like, hey, if he had it, would he be back to normal? And Balin's like, yeah, probably not. Probably all downhill from here.
Yeah. So Bilbo takes that Arkenstone and he brings it to Gandalf, Bard, and Thranduil, and then and while this is going on too, we kind of and I don't remember the exact sequence, but we see Legolas and Tauriel. They had gone. I forget the impetus for them going to search Gundabad, but they went to Gundabad or were they following Bolg? Were they like on Bolg's trail?
Bolg.
Okay,
yeah.
They were on. Yeah, so they started tracking Bolg to try to see where he was going, and they end up at Gundabad and see their army marching out, and realizing that there's going to be that the dwarves, elves, and humans, whoever's there, are going to kind of be caught between two different orc armies. So they have to get back. Which I mean, that scene was like, it didn't really add anything, I guess, but it didn't take, like, it wasn't a bad scene anyway. It was just kind of an extra thing.
I think that for me, the problem was bringing Angmar into it, like, at all.
Yeah.
It's making the reestablishment of Angmar being Sauron's eventual goal. And you're just like, no. Yo, like that was in the past. It served its purpose, which was to break up, Arnor. And now he's got to break up Gondor, and Mordor is the place to do that. So none of that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And that's that storyline. So, I feel okay.
Yeah, they just kind of were like, hey, we have these names in the Legendarium. Let's use them.
Yeah. Inappropriately. Yeah, Gundabad wasn't as bad. It just, it wasn't always an orc stronghold, right? It used to be a dwarven stronghold, and one of the holy ones, if I remember correctly. And so there's a lot of history there.
And then they had to bring in Legolas's mom, and yeah. At least we know she loves him.
Well, isn't I may have read this, or I think I was reading something about it the other day when I was watching the movie to look up Gundabad. Is that where the dwarves were supposedly woken up, like created and woken up by Aule, or was that in somewhere in Beleriand? I don't remember offhand. But...
No, it was in Gundabad. Like that was the mountain or the place.
Yeah, but it was eventually taken over by the orcs. So
yeah, like all good dwarven strongholds, the orcs
it's taken over by something.
Yeah.
Now the real question is: there a Balrog underneath that one?
You never know.
Yeah. Is there Mithril from the lightning strike? Yeah. But yeah, then we, kind of the battle kind of is starting to build up, and Thranduil and the men army go to Erebor to try to use the Arkenstone as a bargaining chip. But as they do, then CGI Dane Ironfoot and riding his war pig
which is kind of cool. I mean, if I had a pig like that, I'd definitely make it a war pig.
I didn't mind the pig, but again, like I've already complained about this, but it's just I looked it up. Apparently, the dwarves were like it.
Apparently, Dane was specifically CGI'd because of all the prosthetics on his face. He didn't have as much movement as they hoped he would have had.
Okay.
So they CGI'd it to make him actually look real.
It just, it was just very uncanny.
Backfired a bit.
Yeah. It looked very Uncanny Valley, like, like Luke in Mandalorian. It's just like, you're almost there, but not quite. It looks weird.
Okay. But at the same time, the CGI from back then looks better than today for some reason.
Somewhat, yeah. But again, compared to Lord of the Rings and those battles where it's, practical supported by CGI versus CGI with like a little bit of practicality. But I did think, because we see the dwarves kind of marching, and they initially start having their battle with the elves, because the elves launched their salvo. The dwarves launched their like whirly birds, I think they call them that.
Yes, whirly birds. The old timey whirly birds, which they worked so freaking effectively versus the elves. Not only their arrows, but like decimated their ranks. And they're like, hey, let's not use those against the orcs.
Yeah. We just don't need them because the orcs don't fire arrows. So it's not like we need artillery.
They ran out. Yeah. Yeah. But the battle start, that happens. But I did think so before that, we get the werewolves showing up, and that's how the orcs are going to get there.
For no sense in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
let's have these worms pop out and do nothing.
Yeah.
Well, they
could have at least done like a Tremors thing and they were popped up underneath people.
Yeah. Well, they were there to dig the holes to, I guess, make it easier for the orcs to march there, I guess. And I guess it was a bridge too far for them to use them in the battle. So I mean, I guess that's one thing that was probably good that they didn't add into is having worms be the battle of 6 armies, and one of the armies is the worms.
It's the worm riders on top of them, directing them, across the sand dunes.
Yeah.
Wait, no. Gotta get that spice. No, wait.
Gotta get that
gold.
That halfling leaf.
Yeah.
But to their credit, they didn't win away other bad silly things, but they didn't have the worms initially attack and they have to fight off these kaiju, because that would have just made less sense than things already do. But
yeah.
Because werewolves are something referenced in the Legendarium. I was kind of looking him up, and because I was like, I don't think this is from the Hobbit book, but is it something from Tolkien? And from what I could tell, it was there were legends of the werewolves, but they were not really nobody encountered them in the books. Maybe in some of the unfinished tales or the history, there might have been scenes of that, but yeah. So
yeah. Well, I think just before we get into the battle itself, is the Battle of Five Armies, right?
Yeah. So
who exactly are the Five Armies? Because it's different in the movie than it is in the book.
Well,
because in the book, it's considered the Five Armies are the dwarves, the men, the elves, and then the goblins and the wargs. Because wargs in the books are sentient; they can speak, they can do things.
I thought it was the eagles were the fifth army.
So in the movie considers the orcs and the wargs as one army, and then the eagles as the fifth army.
Okay. But the eagles do show up in the book, right? In the battle.
Yes. Yep.
So they're just they're just the Air Force. They're not part of the army, I guess.
Something like that.
Yeah, because are the bats in the book too?
I don't remember bats.
Yeah, so that's another thing they added
I feel like there are some kind of flying creature.
Okay.
On the goblin side, I don't remember if they're bats or if they're crows or something like that. But it wasn't, I don't know, wasn't anything you'd need giant eagles to deal with.
Yeah.
They were mostly there to help deal with the orcs.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, but at the same time, it was actually really cool to see Beorn just kind of fall down, transition, and just start taking things out.
Well, before we get there, so the orcs show up, and then I did think the initial tactics of the elves and dwarfs kind of working together was kind of interesting, because it looked like some elves and dwarves had died in the battle already, but then the orcs show up and everybody kind of dramatically turns and faces the dwarves are form their shield wall or whatever, and then as they do that, the elves kind of run up the back of them and leap off of them. So I did think that tactic was kind of cool and kind of a good way to kind of combine these strengths of the you have the you have your tanks taking the damage and being there as the defense, and then you have the the rangers and fighting off the jumping off and shooting arrows and spears and whatnot.
And I like that part that it gave the elves redemption, because how they didn't help out the dwarves to begin with. And they even reference like, are because the dwarves just immediately went and took off at the orcs, and the elves were just behind. And they're like, I think it was Bilbo was like, are the elves going to help?
Yeah. Because they're watching from like the whatever the word is, the balcony of Erebor, or whatever the word I'm thinking of is. And then, yeah, while that's going on, we get, Thorin refusing to do anything and just kind of watching and going and sitting on the big throne. And this scene I thought was one of the better scenes in the movie, maybe in the trilogy, but it's the scene of Thorin and Dwalin, where, Thorin's in the grips of his gold madness and whatnot. And while the dwarves are getting pushed back and the men have kind of run back off to Dale and the elves are kind of just fighting in between. But I wrote down what the lines from Dwalin, because I did think they were actually really good. And I can't remember if this is from the book. Again, I was in the process of reading it and I need to get back to it. But, when Thorin refused to go out, Dwalin says, "You sit here in these vast halls with a crown upon your head, and yet you are lesser now than you have ever been. You were always my king. You used to know that once, but you cannot see what you have become." And that kind of spurs Thorin into, which I thought was kind of a cool scene of him imagining like the dragon, or like the gold, the dwarf greed, whatnot, kind of pulling him under and like envisioning that he was getting pulled into like the gold that they poured onto Smaug. But what did y'all think of that scene?
I mean, it was kind of cool because he imagines Smaug is still underneath the gold and kind of sucking him in, right? And it was kind of cool to have him have that realization. I thought it was maybe a little drawn out, but it was cool for what it was.
Yeah, I really liked it. It was sort of how do you break out of this madness that you're in? And, one of your most trusted people, who you don't constantly not pay attention to, because that is like the gag of Balin, right? Balin gives good advice. Thorin ignores it. Right. But this time he's confronted by his other oldest, closest dwarf friend amongst the company, and basically gets brought to task. Hey, you're not you. And, this is junk. You're not my king right now, basically. And has to go off and face himself. And I thought it was a good visual portrayal of how that sort of thing works in your mind. And I liked the gold swallowing him aspect of it, that, he's imagining that and realizes this is what, it's costing him, and it's going to cost him everything, just like it cost his grandfather.
Yeah. And all that kind of spurs Thorin, and, he kind of overcomes that madness in that scene. And, he's going up to the battlements. That's the word I was thinking of. He goes up to the battlement and feeling, Killy is ready. He wants to go out and fight because he can't stand to do nothing while, dwarves and others are dying. And because at this point, the dwarves are pretty much pushed back to the base of Erebor. And they're, the trolls have come out, and they have catapults, and they're, things like that. Some of them don't have hands, but have maces, morning stars on the
no hands, no eyes.
Controlled by a rider.
Controlled by a rider. Oh my gosh. Or some of them are wearing like helmets that are made of stones, so they can break walls.
Yeah.
It was getting pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. But Thorin remember who you are, and remembers, hears Mufasa calling from the clouds, and goes and rides out, and the dwarves rally to their king. And I'm always a big fan of like the rallying, the big rally. Like one of my favorite scenes in the Lord of the Rings movies is Theoden rallying at Helm's Deep, and the ride of the Rohirrim and things like that. So I do really like the him riding out, and the rest of the dwarves rallying to follow him, and turning the tide of that battle. But then, but again, we kind of cut back and forth. But to kind of cut back to Dale, Gandalf is in Dale, trying to. I think isn't he trying to convince Thranduil not to leave? But Thranduil's going to leave
eventually. Yeah. So the orcs head to Dale, so that causes the men to have to go to Dale, which then Thranduil goes to Dale too with the Elvish army.
Right.
After at the same time the dwarves get pushed back, and this was the plan all along. I've got enough orcs that I can split your armies, and you won't be able to hold me off. Dale is an interesting, you have a lot of street fighting going on through the ruins of Dale. It's problematic from a practical perspective because you have a whole bunch of heavily armored, strong individuals fighting people in cloth
and pitchforks.
Yeah, a bunch of injured folks and women and children and men and every time they clash with each other, it's a clash, right? And the orcs are stopped and they're fighting, and I'm like, no, that's not how that goes when you have armored people hit you. Like if you've ever played football and you've been hit by an armored individual, because that's what football players wear, that's padding. Like it's not an easy thing just to take, especially if you don't have your own. And that was funny enough, like all of the other stuff was like, whatever, it's just CGI craziness, orc stuff that they're doing. That was like the bridge too far in my mind. I'm like, no, I can't do this. Like none of this battle tactics stuff makes any sense. If you have a bunch of, non-armored clothed people, they're all going to be trying to draw the orcs into non-open spaces so they can take away their armor advantage, so they can shoot with arrows, that kind of stuff, instead of fighting them in the streets. So that was problematic. And then, after a certain point, Thranduil, he sees the dead elves and he's like, yeah, I'm calling this. We need to go home. I need to pull my people out.
Yeah. And Gandalf, he needs to level up too before Lord of the Rings, because he's having some trouble. And we didn't talk about Alfred, but he got, he got strung up because he was dressed as a woman to hide and was stealing gold that he found.
It's half eaten.
Yeah. And he does, I guess he does, his life does matter because he gets launched into a troll's mouth and they mutually asphyxiate each other, I guess.
Yeah. It was good to see Alfred get his comeuppance.
Yeah.
Even if it was a ridiculous way to do it.
Yeah. He died as he lived, being ridiculous.
He died as he... I don't know if he lived like that.
I said being ridiculous, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bilbo, and while this is going on, there's kind of a plan because Thorin and the company, they're trying to go hunt down Azog because they're thinking if they can stop Azog, they can cut the head off the snake, and so they charge out and ride their contraption up the cliffs to try to find Azog, and have their machine gun arrows that they're.
Admittedly was a cool contraption.
It was, yeah.
It was just a little outlandish.
It was, but not the most outlandish thing in this movie.
Oh my gosh.
But no. Bilbo wants, he sees that he learns of the other army from Tauriel, or they learn of it, and they want to go, he wants to go warn Thorin and his nephews of what's happening and of the approach of Bolg. Gandalf won't allow it, but Bilbo says he's not asking. So, I think we talked about last time, or it might have been a comment that Bilbo last episode was not as
episode
or last movie was he was kind of along for the ride and wasn't really the taking agency, but this is him taking agency, and he's going to help. But as Thranduil tries to leave, Tauriel draws on her king in defense of her love, that because Thranduil's going to leave the elves behind, or leave the dwarves behind. And I did have to give it to Thranduil. He says, "What do you know of love, or what you feel for that dwarf is not real." So I just wanted to stand up and applause Thranduil. That's right, elf and dwarf.
Yeah,
love is not real, or that kind of love, I guess.
Yeah. This 3-day true love blossoming. No.
Yeah, I mean, I know there's probably not many dwarf women by this time, and it's hard to find a date. But come on, Killy, come on.
Yeah, come on. Yeah,
but
and it's an interesting sequence because you have Thorin sending his cousins off into the thing,
or his nephews.
His nephews, sorry, not his cousins. Yes. His nephews off, and obviously this is, Azog's thing that he's sworn he's going to destroy the line of Dane, or is it Dane?
Durin, I think.
No,
Durin. Destroy the line of Durin. So he's got to kill Fili and Kili because they're in that line, as well as Thorin. And you see Thorin gets the message, but by the time he gets it, they're already caught. Right?
Yeah.
They're one of them is actually already caught, and he dies pretty quickly.
Yeah. Fili's dispatched.
Gonna kill him first, and then kill him.
Yeah.
And then we have the scene where Fili or Kili. Shoot.
Fili's the first one to get killed.
Yeah, Fili gets killed by Bolg. And then Tauriel gets Kili killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she has to find her lost love, and they're trying to have their fight against Bolg, but yeah, unfortunately
he just wants to borrow her dagger.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many people go up against Bolg and just don't win. Like they just get beat down. Right? He's like like an action hero from your average action movie film, and he takes out Bilbo with one hit. He's just like hits him with the back of his axe, and Bilbo goes down, which is what happens in the book. So I was like, all right, good, hey.
Well, in the books, he's wearing his ring though.
Yeah,
and he can't be found for like 3 days.
Right.
Yeah. But luckily, Legolas is coming to the rescue, riding a bat.
Upside down.
And he's decapitating orcs as he flies.
Because the bat's gonna fly just in that perfect line.
Yeah. Just cut off all those heads right in a row. Nobody's gonna duck.
Yeah.
Just how do we top the barrel scene? I got some ways.
Yeah. But then, I think that's even more realistic than the air walking on the building as it collapses, as we were saying earlier, because he
doesn't work.
The building's collapsing and he's running up the falling pieces, using his elvish parkour magic to get up there.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but then they name drop him as Legolas Greenleaf, which that name is from an elf of Gondolin in the Fall of Gondolin.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not his name.
Yeah. Yeah. We've got these names. We should use them.
How about we just don't?
We made up other names for stuff like those gems. That was a made up name. Can't we just make up names?
we got Tauriel too.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah. But yeah, then Kili gets killed, but Legolas saves Tauriel, and then the cavalry of the Eagles arrives with Radagast and Beorn, and like in Iron Man 2, he's he
on the left.
He's airdropped. Beorn's airdropped into the battle.
Yep. I remember Thanos fighting Beorn. It was pretty epic. Now I want to see that. Quick, somebody.
Beorn the Skin Changer will return. in the Hunt for Gollum. No, in the Hunt for Gollum.
In the Hunt for Gollum.
Yeah, I may as
I
well
can
be.
almost guarantee it. He'll be one.
There's just be a bear in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, but then and while this is all going on, it's part of the problem is it's intercutting the silliness with like a pretty good standoff and battle between and fight between Thorin and Azog. Because Azog,
I like how Thorin and Legolas work together without actually working together.
Mm-hmm.
In most part, I mean, Legolas was able to help him with shooting down a bunch of the orcs coming after him, but it was just like, oh hey, he's down there, I'll throw this guy. Oh hey, he's up there, I'll throw my sword.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of cool.
Yeah, and then it's it's a pretty cool fight with Thorin and Azog going, because one thing that was we only saw Gimli in the Lord of the Rings film, so we hadn't really we've seen one dwarf in battle. So
hey, we saw a picture of him.
Yeah, well, no, I know, but I'm saying
I know.
Yeah, I'm saying in battle. So it was cool, kind of getting the scale and the sense of a battle of what dwarves are smaller than orcs and elves, but they're strong and they can fight and hold their own. So I did really like that, and you get a sense of that with Thorin here.
And run long distances.
Yeah. But they're fighting over in an icy pond or whatever, and he manages to sink Azog into the ice, but he doesn't confirm the kill. Rookie mistake.
Why follow? Why follow? You see the body floating. You see his eyes open. Why follow him?
Well, I think he wants to make sure he's dead, and to me, when I was watching this, like, does it look like Thorin lets himself get killed so that he can take out Azog? Like, is he letting it happen?
Oh yeah,
100%.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he realizes there's no way he's going to beat this guy. This is the best chance he's got, and if he lets the stroke come down on him, then he will get Azog.
Yeah.
And he just makes that decision.
Yeah, but and then while so he's able to, he takes the hit, but then he's able to kill Azog, and then while that's happening, Legolas is able to kill Bolg, and Tauriel finds her. She finds the body of her love, Killy, and feels very sad about it.
Yeah, because it was real.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
If this is love, I do not want it. Take it from me, please. Why does it hurt so much? Because it was real, is the line, and that's when I revoked my applause from Thranduil, because And what does she mean? Take it from me? Is he going to mind wipe her? Like
like use your super
Men in Black. Just
yeah.
Take my memory away. No,
he'll use his glamour magic to try to.
So that was bad. But then I do like this, even though it's different from the book. In the way it's said, but Bilbo finds Thorin as he dies, and Thorin says, "I wish to part from you in friendship. You did what a true friend would do." So because he hadn't seen Bilbo since he overcame the greed, because Bilbo had gone off, or he had taken the Arkenstone and left. And Bilbo says, "I was happy to share in the perils, far more than what any Baggins deserves." And I'm not going to save the final quote, because we're going to have that at the very end. So, but what did y'all think of, without the quote, that final scene of Thorin and Bilbo together?
I mean, along with all the other Thorin pieces, it obviously a departure from the books, right? Because in the books, it's 3 days after the battle, after Bilbo finally wakes up and takes the ring off, and Gandalf's like, "Oh, there you are, you big sack of Hobbit. We've been looking for you for 3 days." And Thorin's been slowly dying of his wounds, instead of the whole on the battlefield thing. that we get. So it's different both in scenery and in what is actually said. But I think it portrays the same thing, which is that Thorin is telling Bilbo that he is sorry for what he had said, and that he did and does consider Bilbo a true friend. And that, like the Thorin stuff is the best part of this movie by far. And it's sad because then he dies. There's still a movie going on.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that was a really good scene for, as Pat said, as a departure from the book. For what the movie is, I think it was a fantastic scene. It really gets to the heart of what does it mean to be a true friend, right? And because at the beginning, or not the beginning, but when Bilbo was first told by Thorin that he was, he can only trust him, he's a true friend, it was because he was thinking that all of his kin were against him, all of his kin were stealing from him, and I know you wouldn't do that, and you've been protecting me, sort of thing. You got in between me and Asgard once, and all this, the whole journey, and it was like a true friend is going to do what's best for you, even if it hurts you, even if it hurts them, even if it could put something at jeopardy, as long as it's what is the best for you, right? You love that person so much that you want them to get to heaven. That's what a true friendship is, that filial love, and filial and agape love, right? You want that for them so much that you're willing to go out and do something that they might absolutely hate and despise, but at the end of the day, it's what is best. And you pray that your friend will see that at some point at one day. And until then, you might have to depart. You might have to have some animosity from that friend, but you did your best to love them. And that's what matters as being a true friend.
Yeah. So as we kind of get toward the end here, overall, just not of the movie, but just of the battle itself, was it an over CGI fest, or is it kind of, do you feel it's worthy of the legacy of the Lord of the Rings films and those battles?
Yeah, the battle is it's just so, like, it's got problems from the CGI perspective, and beyond that, it's just hyper unrealistic in what it does and what it shows us. Fun, sure, definitely fun. It has a lot of crazy, zany, fun stuff. But
I was trying to do the Mario theme song again, but
yeah. I did it a couple times. It's so over the top that it goes into the realm of ridiculous, and it no longer feels like Tolkien, like it's even related to the Lord of the Rings anymore.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It was fun. That it was fun to see. There was some absolute physics defying things. There was some things that were just, I mean, would I say it was a great fight scene? No. Would I say it's a hilarious, fun fight scene? Yes. Yeah. I do think that, this was the most bloody scenes that they've had, with all the decapitations and the blood flying everywhere. But
yeah, there were dwarves getting like smashed and like
yeah. So like this is not one I let my kids watch. Yeah. They just they know that there's 2 Hobbit movies. But it's well, I guess they know that there's 3 because they want to know what happens after the dragon flies. But
just show them the first 15 minutes.
Exactly.
And show them the animated Hobbit movie.
But it was fun. I liked it for what it was. Was it on par with the rest of them? No, but at the same time, those ones I wouldn't say were as fun. You think of Helm's Deep, and like they had a lot of stuff there, and there was wit there, and there was funny things within the people, right? Like Gimli getting thrown.
Yeah.
But this was more of just the CGI and the war machines, everything. It was just a fun thing rather than a comedic thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we get Bilbo's goodbye scene where he's, he attends kind of the funeral of Thorin, Killy and Philly, because they're getting buried in the mountain, and then Dane is crowned king, but Bilbo doesn't want to stay for the party because he's felt like he's had enough and he needs to go more in his own way. But the rest of the dwarves the rest of the dwarves, the company shows up to see him off, and he invites them for tea.
Did you guys notice I think it's Bifur, but
Beaufort?
No, Bifur.
Oh, is there one named Bifur?
Yeah, he had an axe in his head.
Yeah,
and he gets it
the
out
entire time.
Yeah,
and I don't know if it was an extended scene or not, but he gets it out by headbutting an orc,
and it gets caught,
and he gets stuck.
Yep.
Yeah,
and he talked about that.
Yeah, but Bilbo gets his goodbye scene, which I thought was pretty good. I thought it was a pretty nice kind of send off to his quest. And then, journeys back home with Gandalf and arrives just in time for the auction of his things. And because he was declared dead, but he has to prove who he is by showing something that has his name on it. And he has the contract. But he doesn't want to say he's a burglar, or it's for him being a burglar, because,
It's for me being never mind what it means.
Now, the one thing that doesn't make sense with that scene is, he's supposed to come back loaded, right? But he comes back loaded with treasure because they stopped on the way at the trolls and picked up the trolls' treasure.
Yeah.
And what happened with that? He comes in, he's carrying a
chest,
a chest, but that doesn't seem nearly as much as it should have been.
You have the in the Shire, like there's probably not a lot of gold floating around, so even a chest of gold will probably go a long way. And I did think it was funny how they were saying this is some of the finest Hobbit furniture. It's made in the Shire, not that dwarf knockoff. Dwarf reproduction. And the dwarves would probably make it better, but.
Well,
they're taking our jobs,
maybe not wood.
Yeah. Yeah, and then then we get the last goodbye song, which is, if you listen to the credits, it's a song that it is sang and written and sung by Billy Boyd, aka Pippin. And I think it's a YouTube video. It's like a short, 10 to 20 minute documentary that explains they had about a week to write this song and put it together for the movie. But I do really like the song, The Last Goodbye.
There's a YouTube video of just him singing it too.
Yeah, which the song is right. But there's a little mini documentary too that it might have been it might be a special feature because I have the digital extended editions and I don't remember if that's available with that or. I know I've seen it, and it might have been from YouTube, but
yeah. Well, they did the same thing at the end of Desolation of Smaug, where they brought in Ed Sheeran and let him watch the end of the movie and said, "Okay, now you need to write and credit song for this." But actually, some of the songs in these movies are absolutely amazing, and love the way that they are. But then there's some great reproductions of them by Jeff Castellucci and a couple other guys that do some great stuff with that they have nice deep bass, and I have those constantly on play while I'm doing work.
Yeah. So what's our just overall what's our final verdict on the Hobbit films? Like, I mean, I think we're probably kind of all in the same agreement, but I think the good things, there's Bilbo, Gandalf, Thorin, and the dwarves, and Smaug. I don't know if there's anything else I kind of have it as good and bad and the ugly, and I think we can all know what the ugly is, but anything else in the good, anything else in the good category from the trilogy as we're wrapping up?
I mean, the entire main plot's just amazing because it's The Hobbit.
Yeah.
Yeah. They what they kept true to is great. I enjoy the side quest of the White Council because that's reasonably what it could have what they could have been doing, because they did do that stuff. To the extent of how they did it, that could be a different story, but overall, I mean, it's The Hobbit. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I would say. The parts that are true to the book are really good. The parts that they embellish are hit and miss, right? Yeah. Radagast was a little both, the
little column A, a little column B.
Yeah. Ogodor was mostly good in my opinion. It just, the end was off. They missed the way they decided to do that. Obviously the ugly. I watching it and thinking, if they had gone friendship instead of romance, how much better it would have been. And I don't know, maybe it still would have graded on me, but I don't think it would have. I think it would have been a lot better, especially kind of setting up Legolas for later. I think out of the three movies, this is probably the least good, in the trilogy because of all of the problems, all of the CGI zaniness. Zaniness, I think, is a good way to put it. Just
there we go. Yeah. And they did a really, like, as you mentioned before, like, they did a really good job with Thorin, and seeing what happens to somebody when they are just immersed in an addiction or gluttony or greed, right? And how that clouds someone's mind and overtakes them, and that's all they think about. Even when death is knocking at their front door, they're just going back to what they're comfortable with and their piles of whatever is their addiction, and they don't want to have to deal with anyone else. And you need somebody to come in and smack you silly a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good portrayal of what happens when you let a capital sin rule your life, right? The decisions you'll make, the things you'll sacrifice, right? Because the sin becomes the thing you're worshiping because you're sacrificing to it. And, we see that play out here with greed as the capital sin, and Thorin sacrificing, his friends, his family, his honor, like everything else falls by the wayside against the greed. And it's a very good portrayal of what happens when when humans fall into that trap.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think I'm in agreement. Like the good stuff we talked about. Yeah. And there's a lot of silliness in these movies, but a lot of it's fun, but then there's the ugliness too. So, all right. Well, we did have a little bit of feedback, for our episode on Desolation of Smaug. Speaking of these movies, we had Tammy said, in reference to Smaug Leonardi's performance, she said, "Epic, Rob Leonardi, another outstanding performance."
Thank you.
And then we had Eldir on Discord as well, said, and the award for the most references to a forbidden romance goes to, and I think we probably all share equally in that one.
That was all of us.
We earned a lot. Between last episode and this episode, we're getting a lot of that dragon gold coming our way. So
yep.
And then Eldir also said, and more importantly, the biggest issue with this movie will always be Bilbo and how they massacred my boy. The Hobbit should have been split into two movies because in the first half, Bilbo is very passive. He has no real agency. After the events with Gollum, he takes a much more active role in the books, especially with the spiders. Whereas in this movie and kind of the next, he's really just very British window dressing, waiting to be knocked out during the Battle of Five Armies. The fact that most of this movie is wholly superfluous is a different point. I mean, I would agree to some of that. I think in this movie he does get the Smaug stuff in the last episode, and then the some of the stuff in this episode he does get more agency. But all right, well, I think that is it for this episode of The Secrets of Middle-earth. We'd like to take a moment to thank all of our patrons who make this show possible, including Pete P, Father Eric C, Father Michael D, Joe M, and John F. Their generous donations help us to continue to create The Secrets of Middle-earth and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them at givestarquest.com. And be sure to follow The Secrets of Middle-earth in Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, Spotify, or any podcast directory or app. And you can find us on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia, or on X, where we are at SQPN, or on Instagram, where we are at StarQuest Network. And don't forget, you can get your own official Secrets of Middle-earth merch, including our awesome t-shirt at sqpn.com/merch. All right. Now, we'd love to hear from you, our listeners. What do you think about the Battle of the Five Armies and the elf-dwarf romance? Is the horse dead? AKA,
or have we got enough? Have we gotten paid enough for those references yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to guess no, but
you can let us know on our Facebook page or on Twitter, or by sending an email to middleearth@sqpn.com, by leaving us a comment on YouTube or on Spotify, or by visiting our channel in the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/discord. And at the top of the podcast, I mentioned Caitlin Fascista's book, and next time join us for an exciting discussion with her, about her book, and you can find out more info at teawithtolkien.com or at your favorite online retailer. And the launch party is happening on February 20th, and you can find the details at teawithtolkien.com. So until then, thank you, Patrick Mason, for sharing on this adventure with me.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thanks for bringing me along.
You signed the contract. You had no choice.
I know. At least the funeral arrangements were good.
Yeah. for the romance, at least.
Yeah.
And Rob Leonardi, thank you for joining as well and sharing the secrets of Middle-earth.
Thank you very much for having me, and all the 14th of your gold.
Yeah. And I'm Jeff Haecker. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Middle-earth on StarQuest.
Farewell, dear listeners. Go back to your books and your armchairs. Plant your trees, watch them grow. If more people valued home above gold, this world would be a merrier place.
Here's another show on the StarQuest Network you're sure to enjoy. The Secrets of Technology. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/technology.